Hello, and welcome to the channel. And I talked a little bit on my last video about my weight struggles. Talked a little bit about kind of how it affected me. My dad's I've talked in the past about my dad's death. It was non-alcoholic cirrhosis of the liver. The only way they caught that first before they caught his type 1 diabetes. My dad was really big on just eating pretty much whatever he wanted, and he didn't really care about what people thought, or he didn't really care about what he was, what his diabetes and his condition were doing to people around him. And the non-alcoholic cirrhosis of the liver basically really washed him away. He was not the man I grew up with in the last year of his life. And it was very difficult. It was difficult for me. I wasn't just, watching him. I was going downhill. I had a whole bunch of other family drama. I had dealings going on with my kids. And life really, it took a hit. It took a really large hit on me. And with that, of course, comes a lot of weight gain. I wasn't in shape. Of course, trying to, on a limited budget, trying to, by the way, if you see me doing something weird with my hands, like doing like this, there's bugs all over the place. So I'm probably going to start moving around here in a few minutes. Yeah. And it also didn't help that before that I was driving truck. If you know anything about truck drivers, it's very solitary. Unless you're blessed with being a regional truck driver where, you or your spouse can pack up the lunch, your food every single day, and the food is non-processed. It doesn't come from, where it came from. There's a really good chance you're going to pack on a lot of weight. You're going to pack on weight no matter what, because it's a very stationary job. But if you're driving a semi truck, and back when I was doing it, I have no idea if the laws have changed, if they've made it more time or less time, but you were given 11 hours of drive time with a total of 14 hours of service. And what that meant was, from the moment I wake up, I had the 14-hour clock was ticking. Okay, so even if I stopped for an hour for lunch, even though it wasn't recording the time, that 1 hour didn't go against my 72 hours. It was, I can't remember. It doesn't go against that, but it also didn't stop the 14-hour clock. But so yeah, it was quite a stationary job. You're behind the wheel for most of the day. It also didn't help that about 6 months to a year. Actually, it was less than that. It was probably about 4 or 5 months before I actually went to driving school, got my CDL. I had hernia surgery, and with that alone, I gained a lot of weight because it was much different than the recent surgery I had, where this was an umbilical hernia, where within a few days, I was still pretty much doing nearly anything I wanted with a pretty hefty weight restriction, which I couldn't lift no more than 5 to 10 pounds at one time. Now, even though I still had a pretty hefty weight restriction on the other one, that was an ingroinal hernia, I was, just the location of that hernia, I was in a lot of pain. There's still a lot of muscles there that move. It's really a lot of pain. And so for about a month, I really could not do a thing at all. And with that, of course, we didn't eat, trying to raise 3 kids, her one and the 2 we adopted. There just wasn't a lot of, healthy eating. All right. Income was, so yeah, even this was what? I think I got the license in 2011. So yeah, over about 13 years ago, 14 years ago, when I first got my CDL, healthy food was still relatively expensive. And we did, everything had to be quick and convenient, hauling kids to one event to another. Yeah, so it wasn't really the food. We did not have healthy food. So I packed on a lot of weight just that month. And then when I got into truck driving, it turned into even more. I was even more stationary. I was still stationary, not doing a lot of physical activity because I was behind the wheel for like multiple hours a day. And the companies I drove for, I did not unload the truck. I didn't have to load or unload the truck. All I had to do was, I might have to open the doors and back up to the dock. That was about it. So, with that being said, I gained a lot of weight. I broke the 300-pound mark doing that. And then after the divorce, it got even worse. You're depressed, you don't care, and you just eat and eat and eat. I ended up gaining, more and more weight. So, with that being said, speeding it up to a little over a year ago, I started exercising, doing DDPY yoga. I'm getting ready to go back into that. I also started watching what I was eating, and I lost 50 pounds, which was fantastic. Unfortunately, what happened after that was, started seeing the bulge around the old belly button, and that was an umbilical hernia. And that's where, finally was able to get into a doctor, and the doctor said no more, because I was also doing jiu-jitsu and the DDPY, and she just basically said, it'd probably be safe, because it'd probably be safer for you until we can get you in for surgery, to just not do the activities anymore. And so I didn't. I actually plateaued for a while, and it was great. I was a little depressed, but I was at least able to do a plateau. I plateaued out. I didn't lose any, but I also didn't gain any. So because I was still active, I was still reasonably eating healthy. On the side note was I go to work, and instead of just bringing my own meal that I had prepared, whether it be just a straight, some veggies, some meat or yogurt or whatever, I was purchasing out of the vending machines there, which none of that was healthy. None of it, it's still not healthy. And matter of fact, in the last week at work, I think the only things I bought Pepsi Zero and some coffee. That's all I bought this week. Unfortunately, where I work, coffee costs $1 a cup. And the reason why I'm just kind of looking around right now, looking at the sky, we're about to get some rain. We got the river down here. I kind of want to walk down to the river for a minute. But that is what happened. Okay. And I don't know how much of this I really shared. I'm just now starting to write down a lot of my more recent episodes to know what I've talked about. I have limited storage on my phone and through Apple and Google and all that, so I really can't just save all my videos. I mean, I can, but it takes up a lot of room, and then I have to start going out and paying for it. And I really don't feel like paying for it. And so with that being said, we do need to start taking better care of ourselves, especially if you've been through a divorce, especially, life is just, you're feeling that depression right now. I beg you, brother, to just start exercising, start doing something, get moving. Don't be sitting there watching TV. Don't be scrolling through the reels. I am so guilty of that. I've wasted, I don't know how much time I've wasted in the mornings just picking up my phone, and the first thing I do, I'm doing this little thing, going through all the reels. And the reels take up so much time. It seems like you don't know what you're thinking. What's really happening is it seems like they take up more time than the actual than just watching the videos. It's time to start moving. So yeah, you gotta stop doing that. Let's stop. And I'm thinking once a week, once every other week, and as I'm doing my little rants and the Sunday Bible study, I'm thinking what I'm just going to do is maybe talk a little bit about my weight loss, what I'm struggling with, what I'm dealing with. And like I said, the whole purpose of me doing this is to try and encourage everybody spiritually, God, in a godly sense. I mean, I'm praying for everyone, and it's losing weight is tough. It's a lot easier to gain it than it is to lose it. Okay, especially if you're a foodie. One of the things there's a place I want to go to. I never really spent much time in Rhode Island, but living in Vermont, there's a place down in Rhode Island. It's called Nordic. It's actually supposed to be a really high-end buffet. It's one of the most expensive buffets in the world. It has lobster, crab, other steaks. So there's a lot of healthy options on there, but it's very, like I said, it's very expensive. And I want to see if I can break that 300-pound mark before the end of the summer. Maybe just grab my son and two of us take a road trip down, have a little father-son bonding time, and just see where it goes. So with that being said, I'm going to stop this, and I might talk a little bit more as we'll go down here and look at the river, and then go back up to the car. So really, hey everyone, this is the campsite that's my car up there. Now, the past couple of years, we've had several different major hurricanes come through. And I noticed this one, a lot of these have a very short trail, like where my car is. The trail would normally just cut right down, would cut right up down and make its way down to here. Here's a place for your tent, or you can put your tent over here. You have a fire pit, picnic table. But the actual trail comes up around there. Yeah, I'm on cinema, so everything's going in and out of focus. Up around here, comes out here. And it's a lovely campsite. I'm really hoping to spend some time here in the near future. It looks like people go off and do some hiking over in here. And I am not going to walk down here because, well, it looks like there's another way I could go right here. But yeah, even then looks like it's a little bit of a drop right there. Yeah, but here's the brook. And it looks like there might have some, maybe some trout in here, maybe. I don't know. I think it'd be worth it to try it here during the summertime. I think this is going to be one of the campsites that I'm going to go and visit. It doesn't look half bad. I mean, like I said, this whole place is in the middle of the Green Mountain National Forest, not very far from my home. And I am discovering a lot of the places where I used to go camping as a kid. They all were, at that time, first come, first serve. And what was meant by that is you just showed up. You didn't have to pay. You didn't reserve. You just, if you had to hike in 3 miles, you better hope and pray that when you meet your 3-mile mark and started coming in, that the campsites were just there, because you know, you might be plumb out of luck. But now most campsites, those campsites at Silver Lake, Chittenden Brook, places that I went as a kid, they are now paid. You have to pay in order to camp there. And I think that's kind of sight. That is just beautiful. Wow, I gotta get the big camera. I've been working on my photography. I want to buy a UV filter for the camera, so that, wow, that is, I think I'm going to take a picture of that before we go. Most definitely. But yeah, so that's right up here. I'm probably going to we'll close it out when I get up to the car, but I'm not going to try and video as I'm walking. It's, like I said, you are in the woods, and it could get a little treacherous. And I don't want to trip and fall and hurt myself and let that be that. So, you know, like I said, a long time ago, over the years, we've had a few big hurricanes. And so obviously there's been some sort of a damage from where you park the car down here to the campsite, because right now you got to kind of do a loop around just to get to this campsite. And you can tell I'm probably about 100 feet from the car, maybe. And I can tell you right now, I am so glad that we got this day. I am so happy that it's been a wonderful sunny day, that the weather's been perfect. I can get out, walk around. Now the wind has picked up, so the bugs are no longer bothering me. But I have felt some raindrops. I don't know if those drops are just coming off leaves, or if it is actually going to be raining. And I take that back about the bugs. I just found them. They're like circling my head now. They heard me speak. But yeah, I am so happy. Like I said, this summer I'm probably gonna do some campfire. We'll do some campfire talks, just sitting down and relaxing, and maybe cooking something on the campfire. And I don't know if I'm going to pop a tent up or if I'm going to sleep in the car. I mean, the car is not that far away. It may not be this particular campsite. Like I said, these are a genuine first come, first serve. But the wonderful thing is that I can at least, you know, park the car, sleep in the car, get here. It's not a far walk, so if I get up here and there's no place to camp, it's not like I had just walked 2 or 3 miles. And that's just wonderful. Oh, wow. I'm just amazed by the waterfall. So we'll finish this up back out the car, and we'll close out there.